Hello everyone, Angelo here, Hollywood filmmaker, and I've got something important to talk about regarding something I've gone through the last few months. It's a big thing, it needs to come out, I need this thing out of me and out there. I'm letting it all out. And it's fine. It's fine because it's time to let this out. I hired a lawyer when was it? When did I hire him? I can't remember now. December? January? February? I think February. Because I got into a bit of trouble. First of all, there was the cover story that I told you all, which was perfectly valid at the time to say, which was that I'm suing my haters and people who don't like my videos, not even dislike them, just don't click like. I'm suing you, and I was going to be like, pay up assholes because I'm coming for you. You're going to get a declaration of impending doom, and you'll have to pay. But there's actually a different reason I hired a lawyer. Hired? What did I say? Hired a lawyer. So let's go back a while. Actually, this story could go back about 10 years. Because it's funny how things lead up to big problems down the line. I got a credit card I had another credit card, but that wasn't the major problem. I don't know when I got this other one. Sometime in 2013, I forget. One that could carry a big balance, and my bank kept increasing the possible balance I could have on it, like every few months, until it was up to like $19,000. $19,000 available I could spend. Throughout the years, I was paying it off, but charging more, going broke. Occasionally doing big things like $500 for my camera, $500 for screenwriting consulting, which was totally worth it. It was a good expense. And I mean, I learned a ton from it, even though it was so painful, because it was so painful. Along with the pain came the lesson, I guess. It didn't necessarily, I could have learned nothing if I didn't want to, but anyways, I had all this debt. I was up to like barely paying my credit card bills, which was getting to like $400 or $500 a month before the pandemic hit in March 2020. But I was at least able to pay it, and homeless. I tried several times with my bank over the year before the pandemic or so to call and ask, can I get some kind of financial hardship assistance? Each time they said they wouldn't do it unless I got a job, and I'm like, I refuse to get a job. Pandemic came, and they agreed to freeze my credit card payments. However, they kept charging me interest, like $200 or $300 a month interest. So it was going well over my limit. It was adding, I don't know how much, at least another around $2,000 on my account just in interest charges, while I could not pay anything because I was barely surviving. Barely. I mean, I read my bank statements, or how much I made and had on each on each month for whatever. I think just 2020. I read it in a live stream. Maybe 10 people saw it, but I was making very, very little throughout the pandemic, barely surviving. Got on food stamps for 6 months. And towards the end of all that, eventually the bank started wanting payments on the credit cards again. I had two cards. One was the big one, another was a very small, relatively small balance. Oh, and then I had another one with Goodyear, I guess, for car work I had done. So I was still homeless. I was working at the warehouse, horrible company I worked for there. On Track, shoot, don't work for that. It's exploitative as hell. And I was trying to do what I forget what it's called, the way of paying it off, but I was trying to go from small to big, like rolling it up or whatever they call it, the pyramid way of paying. It was a pyramid scheme that I used. But basically I was paying off like the smaller credit cards and then working my way up to the big one. So I paid off the Goodyear one, I started paying off the other one, but I was already late. And so then I got a message like it won't accept payments on it. I'm like, huh, oh, like I was already behind on credit card payments, and I'm like, damn, I don't know what I'm going to do now. Because now I have like huge credit card bills, like $500 a month. I'm not making a whole lot at my, what the hell was it I was doing? Warehouse job, I forgot. And like somehow I found out about bankruptcy. I forget what I was looking up, how I was looking to see, can I consolidate this credit? What do I do? And I found bankruptcy info, and I'm like, huh, oh crap, maybe I have to do this. So, short of it is, I found a bankruptcy lawyer, paid him $2,500. I was fortunate that I was a few months behind on my credit cards, but it wasn't even worse. Like, it didn't go to collections yet. The bank wasn't trying to the bank was still trying to get me to pay them. But this is getting to a touchy situation because they could garnish my wages. I mean, this could follow me around for years. And I talked to the lawyer, and I'm like, even if I try paying this off, like as much as I can every month, with the interest on there, I'll have to be homeless for 10 years just to pay this off. I'll be stuck doing this. And I just ran over, we did the consultation. He had very good reviews. Again, expensive. A lot of bankruptcy lawyers, I've heard they charge less, but this guy had the best reviews, so I wanted to go to him. And here in LA, we never met. It was just all email and on the phone. And the email thing, and doing all the paper, I'll get to that. So he said, you definitely qualify for bankruptcy. I would think you're definitely a good candidate for it. That's what it's there for. Basically, so if you don't know, because I didn't know what it meant, it's a way of legally discharging your debts, saying you can't afford it or it's too burdensome, and you just can't pay them, and you discharge them. Certain ones you can't discharge, what I learned, but they didn't affect me, like back taxes or child support, student loans, but I didn't have any of that. So, short of it is, I'm pretty sure that was February I started that process. Looking back, I'm surprised I waited that long, because I'm like, holy crap, like, I could have started it a lot sooner. Like, as soon as I knew I'd have trouble paying my credit card bills, and I was homeless, paying my credit cards, money that I couldn't pay towards rent or food. I wasn't even thinking about paying rent, just food and gas and other bills. And keep in mind, I had been paying many thousands over the years, so I don't know exactly how much I paid to my bank, but they may very well have gotten that $20,000 back. I don't know, maybe not that much, but excuse me. So you don't have to hire a lawyer to file bankruptcy. However, he made it so much easier because there's a lot of paperwork you have to do. There's like a 67-page questionnaire that's like incredibly tedious, incredibly fucking tedious and complicated. And of course, once you do it, it looks a lot simpler in hindsight, but I didn't even know what it was asking sometimes, what I'm looking for, what this means, that means. Fortunately, this guy was on the ball, like emailing me right away, and I appreciated it. He didn't say, hi, Angelo, hello. It just, here's his answer, or here's his question. He's like, why did you say this? Why did you say this? He wasn't being rude. To me, it was almost like he was being a nerd in a good way, in that, like, he's not being offensive. He's just trying to find out what the issue is so he can help me. And I like that. I didn't have to deal with the... After a while, I realized, I can let the pleasantries roll off of hi and this and thank you. I don't need to thank him. I'm paying him out the ass. He doesn't need to thank me. He did occasionally, but it was good working with him. But yeah, it was really different, especially on my phone, sweating my ass off in my car, having to urinate constantly, drink water, get food, straining to understand this stuff, and just having to go through it, just plow through it. It was like 67 pages, and then on top of that, there was some other paperwork. It's a black hole in my memory. Went through that, filed everything, approved it. Like he said, okay, you agree on this. Oh, and you have to like estimate or you have to basically pick a day where you're going to formally enter this as your bankruptcy plea or whatever. Not like in front of it, but you just enter it online. The lawyer will do it for you. And when you do that, it automatically notifies all creditors that you've listed that you filed bankruptcy. They cannot contact you, and sure enough, that's what happened. They all stopped. Or, well, my bank stopped. I didn't really have anywhere else. I had 2 credit cards with the bank. And you have to know everything, like how much you have. I was having to answer for all my possessions in my car. I was having to say like how much cash I have on me, and you have to say everything of the exact day you file. So then you wait, and he said after that you're going to have a phone call with a trustee who's going to go over some of the details with you, just ask you questions, and if the trustee if he had any things he wanted specifically to ask about, but he said usually he doesn't, because it's all pretty standard. Most people who file bankruptcy just really need it. If you're hiding big assets, that's what or not even hiding. If you have big stuff, like say you got a divorce and somebody and after the divorce, like you got part of house or property or something that you split up with your ex-spouse, something like that, and so they're determining, okay, you have some assets, what can you pay off, or do you not need to pay off, whatever. And so, and on the trustee call, it took like 90 minutes just to get to me, because it's like court. You wait there and you let everybody else goes first, and they were going past me to everybody else, and I was waiting. I was so worried because I was training at my job. I was so worried my boss would be upset with me or mad. Fortunately, my boss was super cool, and it's like, no, I know you pull your weight around here. It's fine. And that was like 2 weeks into my job. So I was like, I'm sorry. I thought it was like 10 minutes for me, or a minute for me, but everyone else took 90 minutes. And some people were, I swear, just, they didn't, I get it, people are people, and some people didn't even know the answers to questions, like when was the last time you had a job, and I get that. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, so that took a while, and that's a very slow process, because, you can't rush anything with court, anything like that. Got to me, it was uneventful. My lawyer was on the phone with me in case, I said, well, I don't know about this, or I was homeless at the time, whatever. But anyways, it was no big deal. Finished that, and finally, and that was in April. And after that, you just wait. And the trustee apparently is their job. They don't get paid much unless they find stuff. They get paid very, very little. Something, I forget what, like $60 or something for each person who files, unless they can find stuff in your filing that shows some inconsistency or potentially hiding something, whatever. But again, for most people, they're not finding that, because most people are just, they've gotten to this point because they really, really need help. That was my case. And I knew I would never be able to have a home if I didn't do this. And I had no idea, how am I going to survive 10 years or something in my car? So I went through all that, heard nothing else, and then finally, yesterday, I got word from my lawyer my debts have been discharged. So I finally cleared my debts. They were, frozen for a while. Like, I didn't have to pay anything, no creditors contacted with me, but now it's official. Whereas if it wasn't, they could potentially do Chapter 13 bankruptcy. I did Chapter 7. Chapter 13, I think that's the one where it's like, you'll pay back less, but you still have to pay back some. But again, most people, they genuinely need help. Not a surprise, so many people are poor and have been getting by on credit, including myself. And that was kind of the trick, the secret that made it possible to rent where I live now. That and the Joe Biden payment, the Biden bucks, the whatever it was, 1,200, or what it was adding to the 600 we got before. I can't remember what, another 600 or whatever it was. That put me over, so I could have like $80 left over once I rented this room right here. And so now I'm finally able to live and actually able to survive. If it wasn't for that, I couldn't rent a room. It would just be too burdensome. Even if I could just barely afford it, it wouldn't be worth it in a way. But it was getting very difficult to work full time. The first 2 or 3 weeks of my job, I was, or I think 2 weeks, yeah, I was living in my car and working full time, and it was just getting too tedious and complicated to do. So it ended up working out. So that's my secret, for getting this apartment is I had to file bankruptcy. Thank goodness we got the Biden vaccine. I got now today California's reopening. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but again, to solely Biden's credit and Biden alone, not the last administration. I'm just saying that to trigger conservatives, but a bunch of whiners. But anyways, I'm not that big a supporter of Biden, really. I mean, but anyways, yeah, California does happen to be opening, but it's still certain provisions in that today. And my employer still requires masks, which is probably a smart idea. So, bankruptcy, it may be right for you. If you're struggling with debt, you got to look into it and see. And it's better to do it sooner than later, especially if you don't have the money for a lawyer later. I just very luckily happened to be positioned in just the right area, especially being homeless, where I could get the money together. And even then, I couldn't pay it all up front. I paid a deposit, and then I paid as I went. And my lawyer was fine with that. That was his policy, I guess, is you pay up front some, and then, you basically, by the time you tell me you want me to formally, file the bankruptcy, that's when I have to be paid up in full. So that worked out. Yeah, because I couldn't pay him all up front, I think. Yeah, no, I couldn't. So, not working at that warehouse. Even though I was working a lot of hours November, December for the holidays, but even then, it's still, I paid like $700 on the Goodyear credit card, and anyways. So that's my secret. That's what happened. Next step is now hire a legal team to sue the haters and people who don't like my videos. But you may want to look into it if it's right for you. That's the thing. And a good lawyer will walk you through that and help you decide if it's a good fit for you. I probably could have tried to file it much earlier. It never even crossed my mind. Creditors don't want you thinking about that, but once you do it, you're all clear. Like, they can't contact you, and if they do, tell your lawyer, and they'll make sure they know they cannot contact with you. But then, mostly, it seems like they're not going to. I'm not just talking my experience, from what I've read, because they know it's the law. Again, there's there's a lot of shady companies, but there's not. That's that's kind of like a standard thing. Is you file bankruptcy, they can't contact you. They know that. And they'll make their money elsewhere, I guess. I'm sure the bank I had credit cards at, they're not even sweating it. It happens all the time. And like I said, I paid back many thousands. And with that interest, oh my God, I would have easily paid back like twice what I charged. So, maybe for you. I don't know. May not be. If you're considering it, or if you know you're in huge debt problems, you could at least look into it. Avail yourself to that help. Yes, my credit is probably gone to hell now. Doesn't affect me at all. I'm not getting loans. I'm not buying a new car. If I ever get a car, it'll be a used one in cash from a private seller, not a dealer. Rip-offs. And yeah, I'm not really worried about it either way, because I'm just trying to be financially responsible now, as much as that's possible. Everybody's broke, but I'm getting by. And I'm still just trying to keep working and keep my expenses very, very low. I eat canned food. I shop at the food bank. I reuse my water bottles, fill them up at the water fountain? No, the sink. I forgot I have a sink now because I'm not homeless. Alright, there you go. Bankruptcy.